This is MJ. I'm an author, I'm an artist, I'm an analyzer. Welcome to my fully operational analysis of the Book of Boba Fett Chapter 2. This is fully operational, episode 58. You Shouldn't Have to Hide is the title of the analysis, pulled from a quote from Boba Fett. So I want to ask right at the top, is this the best way to tell this story? What is the virtue of telling these tales of Boba Fett in two timelines? And I want to know, do you enjoy it? So, I meant to take note of who the composer was, because the composer and the guy who made the theme, Ludwig something, are two different people. I want to say it's like Mike Shirley or something like that is the composer, because I really did appreciate the music more this time. But anyway, backing up, I want to just give the information for the show. So this Book of Boba Fett Chapter 2, it's entitled The Tribes of Tatooine. The director is Steph Green, who I'm going to assume is a woman, and Steph is short for Stephanie, but I don't know for sure. Doesn't matter to me. I think the directing was good this episode, so I don't care. The writer is Jon Favreau. The original release date of this episode is January 5th, 2022. And, get ready for a spoiler-full analysis. If you look at the show notes on the blog, mjmunoz.com, there's a spoiler-full synopsis of the episode. So I'm not really going to be using it. I'm just going to be referring to people by names and titles and such, and not using proper things. Proper names, like, I could know the mayor's name, but I don't care. He's the mayor of Mos Espa, and that's enough for me. So anyway, here we go. The first thing I want to talk about is the mayor. So the mayor is a slippery character. He sure seems bad. I really like the effect. We've had talking Ithorians before, so once again, well, no, I want to talk about the story. I'll talk about the Star Wars nerdy stuff afterwards, but I'll continue talking about the story. The mayor is a slippery fella. He may or may not have actually hired that assassin. It's very unclear. Boba he marches straight in with Fennec Shand and the Gamorreans, and I think that's it, just the four of them. Anyway, the Pig 1 and Pig 2. Oh, man. Anyway, so he marches in there and confronts the mayor, even though he's not on the schedule. And he is told that the mayor did not hire this assassin, that this type of assassin is only allowed to operate within hut space, which brings to my mind the question, is this hut space or not? If Jabba the Hutt has been killed and Bib Fortuna took over his area, does that shrink the territory of the Hutts, and how does that work out? If the Hutts are a decentralized network of crime bosses, and Nal Hutta is their core, and where they send Hutts from, and because that's their home planet, if you didn't know that, which I'm sure you did. Look at you got all sorts of Star Wars knowledge, don't you? Anyway, if everything starts in Hutt space, Nal Hutta, Nar Shaddaa, whatever, from there, and then it kind of expands out from there, is there like a sphere of influence? Kind of like there's the littoral, that's what I said, with an L. Starting with an L, not anything else. Anyway, like there's an area around the United States and around other continents where we say your sphere of influence of your country goes out 100 miles, 200 miles from your coast. So you take the size and shape of the continent and you expand it out like 100 miles or 200 miles, like I said, and then boom, there's your territory too. You can control things within that, and then beyond that, it's international waters and things kind of change. So does there have to be a Hutt living and ruling in a particular area for their control, their sphere of control, to remain intact? And, if not, how does that work? That's a super interesting question, something I've never thought about before, and I'm interested to hear what exactly is going on. But regardless, getting back to my main point, the mayor gives money to Boba Fett, and he said, oh, here's your payment for taking care of this assassin who's not supposed to be here. Thank you very much. Boba counters and says, I'm not a bounty hunter. I am the ruler here, and, you're here at my leisure, and whatever. He comes off a little softer than he does with the, is Flip the name of the lady? The Twi'lek lady who's running that Oasis, whatever, bar? Anyway, I don't know. Doesn't matter. He comes off a little softer to the mayor than he did to that lady, but that lady also gave him deference and was very accepting of his rule and reign, whereas this mayor is just kind of like no nonsense, like, no, you're not really in control. You think you are, but you're not, and whatever. So it kind of ends in a contentious way, and then the mayor kind of redirects Boba's attention to figure out who really tried to kill you, because it wasn't me, which could be a lie. We don't know. We don't know what the nature of this guy is. I called him slippery. He's either slippery or he's definitely strong. He's a mighty person because he's able to just stand there calm, or sit there calmly, casually, and deal with the situation. He's shrewd, smart, brave. Anyway, so really interesting. I don't think we've ever seen an Ithorian characterized quite in this way. They always come off a little, well, again, I'm trying to focus on the story stuff. But characters, so I'm not going to get into the long tangent that I was going to, but characterizations of Ithorians, this is a unique characterization for an Ithorian as far as my experience with Ithorians is concerned. So, anyway, and you don't share that with me, so how the heck do you know what I'm talking about? So, moving on from there, the twins. Jabba had a son, we know that, Rota the Hutt, aka Stinky, and he had an Uncle Zero, of course, made famous in the Clone Wars movie, both Rota and Zero. But apparently he had cousins too. And these cousins come along. It's a twin male and female Hutt who want to take over Jabba's territory from Boba. I don't know why they only became interested when Boba came back, when you would think it would have been easier to take over when Bib was there, but then again, you're cutting off storytelling potential for yourself, and then you'd have to have, the Book of Bib Fortuna, which I don't think anybody wants or anybody needs, and that's not what this show is. So I guess it makes sense that they would come in now to present conflict for Boba in the present, and I don't know if the assumption should be that the assassins were hired by the twins, because they talk about how bloodshed is bad for business and they don't want to have a fight out there in the street. I'm a little confused as to what they're doing here, what utility they're giving to the story. I see them making a clear and present danger for Boba, as opposed to just having stuff to deal with in his past. He has stuff to deal with in his present. Yeah, but I don't really like that, so I'm going to move on from there. But it was an interesting idea. The only thing I didn't like is 2 Hutts on the same litter being carried about by people feels extremely unbelievable. Those suckers look like they gotta weigh at least 600 pounds each. So can 8 guys carry 1,200 pounds? Well, and how heavy does the litter have to be in order to support their heft? There was no repulsor lift technology there that I could see. I expected 4 guys, 2 in front and 2 in back, and there to be some sort of repulsor wave going on with that litter. But that thing was clearly, the sound design was there for creaking wood and all sorts of stuff, so that doesn't quite work. And it felt wrong to me, but it's just kind of a dumb complaint. Moving on into Boba's past. Gang and Pykes. So we have that paw print type logo I talked about in the last episode that was being marked on that house by those toughs gang. It was also on those speeders. He beat up those guys in a bar. They were oh gosh, I can't remember the race I can't remember what their species is called, but anyway, they were not humans. I thought they were humans from his look, from the chapter 1, the instance where Boba saw them. I thought they were humans, but apparently they're not, or maybe they're part human, part something else. And anyway, so in chapter 2, he beats those guys up in the bar. He has a nice long drink, and then he steals all of their speeders and takes them to the Sand People, which was really cool. So I liked that, but I'm wondering, is this gang attached to the Pykes who were running that train? I don't think they are, because I saw a scene with that logo in near the train, but I think the logo was just on the speeder. So they put their mark on the home that they stole or vandalized from or whatever. They were tagging, and they've tagged that same logo for their gang onto their speeders. So that makes sense. I was a little confused about that when I first made this note, but now talking out loud, I've kind of figured it out for myself. So I think they're unassociated. You've got the Pykes who are running spice and weapons, it looks like, and then you have this local gang, this small-time local gang who's just being a nuisance to people and pestering them. So that's interesting. But, I mean, it's also interesting. There are Pykes on Tatooine. They are running drugs there, or running spice, which does make sense because Han was formerly smuggling spice for Jabba, and that's how he got into trouble with him. So, since he was running it for him, it would make sense that there would be other people moving and supplying and working with spice on Tatooine. And now, thanks to Lucas's work on the Clone Wars, we get to see that it's the Pykes who are involved with that. So, not much else to say. I liked that scene where they were attacking the train. Oh, okay, I was going to say, I don't quite understand why the Pykes were shooting them. It kind of reminded me, honestly, of the fact that Americans and I think Europeans would come over too, and from the trains they would shoot buffalo and just kill them. They would shoot them in the wilderness as they were passing by and leave their corpses to rot, and it dramatically, it killed and destroyed the buffalo population here, which, interestingly enough, led to an ecological thing where the plains became destroyed because the design, I'm going to say that, the design of the plains is that the buffalo and other animals all live together in a web of life where they build the soil up and they keep regenerating it. And that's actually something that's being used by people right now in it's called regenerative agriculture, where they use a leader-follower system where an animal, a big animal like a bison type thing or a buffalo, comes through and does certain things with the grass. They eat, they poop, they do other things. Then other smaller animals come through. You can pair like cattle and chickens, for example, and they can sustainably and regeneratively grow. They make the grass better there, and then those animals eat the grass. So they eat the grass, but then they leave it in such a way that it kind of cycles. It's a positive cycle. It's not a negative cycle. It's a positive growth cycle where the animal's presence there, the animals are fed by the grass and the terrain, basically, and then they supply it with things that enrich it, and it grows back better, and then those things can keep feeding off of that, and it turns into this really positive loop of life as opposed to a loop and cycle of destruction. Anyway, just an interesting tangent you might appreciate. Some people are doing that, and then they're killing the bison or buffaloes or whatever, and they're getting meat out of them in a very sustainable way. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, so that's why I assumed it was, but then it turns out the Pykes thought that these Tuskens were aggressive and were going to attack them, and they're trying to have safe passage through. Now, after Boba and the Tuskens, the team of Tuskens, the Tusken Riders, you like that? Anyway, after they do their thing and they stop the Pykes and they kind of raid the train, he says, go back to your masters and tell them that you will now have protection to run through here. And basically he secures a deal for them to make passage, and he threatens that if they kill any of the Tuskens there, they will be attacked. The hammer will be brought, the Gadurfi will be brought down on them so hard that they will regret attacking, and the plan is for it to be a peaceful interaction between them where these guys can keep running their spice by giving a form of tribute to the Tuskens there. One, leaving them safely alone. Two, giving them something so they benefit from it, and then that will allow those guys to have safe passage to make a ton of money off their spice running. So that's pretty cool. I really love how interesting this is, and this is building off of my small discussion about Boba Fett having like a transactional view of life because of being a bounty hunter, and how it actually brings this economic side into things, which is pretty darn interesting. I mean, he also wants to protect the Sand People, but how does he protect them? Not by staying there and fighting their battles for them, but by empowering them, making them stronger, making them more capable, and then not only doing that, but going a step further and saying, and now you form, not an alliance, but you form an arrangement with these guys so that everybody wins. You're safe from them, they can keep doing their thing, but these are your lands, these are your territories, and you say, hey, you got to pay me if you want to come through here. And again, it provides protection for the Sand People, and it also enriches them to a degree, which is good, because these are their lands, these are their sands, and he's giving them, he's having them exercise ownership over them in such a way that it's going to be mutually beneficial, and there can be peace instead of bloodshed and fighting and killing all the time. Let's see. So that was really cool. I really liked seeing that, and it made me think about the United States and Native Americans, and how it was too bad that they didn't the sorry state of the Native American population. Well, it's sorry. It's not good. It's bad, and I feel badly for them. But there's kind of nothing that can be done at this point. The reservations are terrible. Like, there's so much that the United States government did to these people, and I'm not saying it's because they didn't exercise territorial rights over their land, but it's because I think there was the imperial instinct within the American government, and there wasn't a powerful enough, something within the Native American peoples here to stop that from happening. And it's a tragedy, but it's interesting to see how that's kind of being addressed here in a way in the Book of Boba Fett, because that's the Sand People are Native Americans is a thing that goes like way back. I'm sure it's in John Jackson Miller's Kenobi book. It's in KOTOR, actually, and I'm sure it's been in tons of stories before KOTOR, because that came out only in 2000, and the Sand People are old. They're OG Star Wars. So anyway, moving on. I thought Boba's trip was really interesting. The fact that Boba has a hallucinogenic experience was really neat to see. I'm glad they didn't call it a vision quest. I'm glad it wasn't set up. It was very, it was kind of foisted upon him, but in a funny way, because the Sand People found him to be worthy. The Tuscans found him to be worthy. And it was interesting. I don't quite understand. I liked the visuals of it. I like the storytelling potential in it, but I don't really understand the significance of it, and I don't understand what it means. Like, why did he, especially because the Tuscan chief, I'm going to say, said to him, "You are a good guide, so I'm going to gift you with this guide who will guide you within your head." So, is this something that they do to all people? Is this their coming of age? Well, all right. So my next topic was ritual acceptance. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull them both together right now. Is this like a coming of age ceremony for all Tuscans? And if so, at what age does that happen? Is it not age dependent? Is it competency as a warrior dependent? I don't know. Is this happening with him in this way in an accelerated manner? I would think because he's already a tried and tested and proved warrior, but now within the context of this particular band of Tuscans, he has proven himself and shown himself to be worthy. I mean, he did bring them he won his freedom. So he was enslaved to them, and then he won his freedom, and then he brought them this big gift of the speeders. He wanted to have one speeder, and then they were gonna wreck the stuff and just destroy it. And then he's like, "No, we can use this, guys. It's gonna be okay." So he's kind of revolutionizing the way that this particular band of Tuscans is gonna interact with the the Tatooineites, the human settlers, or I guess they'll call them the settlers on Tatooine, because the Sand People would be the original people, or at least more original than most of these off-worlders who are coming along. But especially because they spoke of in their lore, when the seas dried up, we Tuscans divided, and there's been fighting for generations. Yeah, generations, basically. But anyway, I find it... I like it. I like that they're accepting him into their culture, but you didn't need to have this trip vision quest thing, except for I guess the fact that it did lead him to his branch that he turned into his Gadurfi, or they helped him turn into his Gadurfi. So I don't quite understand it. I like it. It was neat. It was interesting, but what is the context? We see young Boba. Do we see Jango dying again? I'm not sure, but we see young Boba, and we see Jango flying off in his ship, and Boba's watching that from within Camino. But I don't really know what any of it's supposed to mean, and I don't know if that's actually planting seeds for stuff in the future, or if they just thought it would be a cool part for him to have this trip, which led him to the branch, which became his Gadurfi, which was such a strong part of him, or such a important part of him, being fully accepted by this Tuscan tribe. So anyway, but I sure liked it. It was very cool to see. I think ritual is super important. I think ritual coming of age ceremonies are super important. And anyway, there's a bunch of research and books and things you can look into about that, but I'm not going to go into that right now. There's some other time. You can go to mtmooners.com and probably find me talking about that sort of stuff there, so I won't belabor the point here. Last thing is, why did I pick the quote, "You shouldn't have to hide"? I was considering another one, and I did a joke on TikTok about like a bantha, why it should be called like a bantha. So go to the top of the post and look for the TikTok link, and maybe I'll make it stick to that one directly, and then you can see that one and then others from there. Like that'd be fun. I think it was funny. Anyway, obviously, if you're listening to this, you know I like the show and I approve of it, but I kind of mock it a little bit with the like a bantha thing. So anyway, you can check that out later. But I picked You Shouldn't Have to Hide. Sand people, man, I'm trying to stay within the context of the show. The sand people cover their bodies up, right? They have those crazy masks with the goggles and everything, and they're all in all sorts of stuff, and they hide from the settlers. And they hide from the settlers, and they just like try to eke out an existence. And he's telling them, like, you should not, he literally tells them, you shouldn't have to hide. When he gets his Tusken robes, I almost expected they might make a face covering for him, but they didn't. Because that's not who he is. He's a different type of person. And maybe he's like an honorary member of the tribe, or maybe there's some exception carved out for him, or I don't know what. But anyway, he's legit. I think he's like showing these Tuskens how they can be a different type of band of Tusken Raiders. And I think it is reflective of who he is in the Boss Boba era as well, and maybe who Boba Fett has always been. Of course, you got to think about this, or think about it this way. All the EU stuff got thrown out, right? So we have young Boba from Clone Wars. We have his very short appearance in Attack of the Clones, and we have his appearance in Mandalorian Season 2. So now Book of Boba Fett is all about him, and it's giving him this character focus. So, you know, what is being said, and I'm, you know, doing a little bit of speculation and guesswork here, but I'm thinking that the way that Boba just marched into the mayor's office, the way that Boba went directly into the conflict with the twins, he believes it is like an ethos for him that you should be open and honest and direct. And I don't know how that's going to play out. But I think that's what he means. And I think he showed that to the Tuskens when he helped them attack the spice train. And I think he wants to keep working with them to show them that they really can, you know, they have machines now too, he tells them, because the Tusken objects, like, oh, we can't compete with these settlers because we don't have machines to fight against them. They have machines. And he says, you have machines now too. And I don't know if he's going to teach them more about machines or help them acquire them or what he's going to do. And maybe the arrangement with the Pykes he has in mind, they'll get money or they'll just get direct goods, like, you know, better blaster rifles, if they are better. They're a different style. I don't know if one's better or not. Or, oh, beautiful hummingbird. Or if his plan is to have them get money and then they'll buy, you know, tanks or who knows what different types of machines to control that section of the Dune Sea to let those spice traders run through there. So it's a little bit difficult to say exactly what he means and what he's going to do, but I feel like I can easily conjecture that he's got this ethic about being honest and open and forthright, not being sneaky, not lying, not sabotaging. And maybe that means you live a more subdued life because you're not like in the shadows doing stuff. I don't know. There's like a difference between an open, and he says the reason they shouldn't hide is because they're warriors. So it's like there's a pride in warrior strength and in capability of self-sufficiency that makes it so that you shouldn't have to hide. Gosh, I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with that, but it is an idea I have of his characterization, and I think it's interesting, and I think there's something there. It might just take more time to really develop what I'm trying to say, but I don't know. I'd like you to think about that. I think that's something interesting, an interesting angle on his characterization and what they're trying to say about him, but I just don't really know how to define it right now. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I do want to know if you enjoyed this episode, this chapter 2 of Book of Boba Fett, and also what you think about the conceit of the two timelines. Like, why should we be getting Tusken Boba and Boss Boba at the same time in the same show? Wouldn't have made more sense for them just to tell all the Tusken Boba stories and then 4 episodes in, then get to, you know, modern Boba, or, you know, Boss Boba as I call him. I mean, that would have made more sense to me, but, you know, I'm also not a extremely successful writer who, you know, makes a bunch of money off of his writing. Not that making money is, well, whatever. It's the market saying this thing is good enough. And I haven't even done a paltry amount of income off of my writing, so maybe I'm not in a good place to say, but it just doesn't seem to make sense to me. And I'm curious what other people are thinking about this format of the show and this format of the story. So anyway, that's it. I'm not going to do a big long outro like I did last episode. I'm going to stick with Book of Boba Fett. I like it so far. I think it's really interesting. It's very entertaining. It's a lot of fun. And I'd like to hear all sorts of feedback from you, fellow Star Wars fans. And I keep choking. I got to go. But anyway, I'm MJ. Visit mjmunoz.com for more stuff for me. There's writing, there's analysis, and there's some artwork too over there. So check that out. And remember, folks, story is everything.